New Year's resolutions. Did you guys make one?
You know, I always come up with something really, really ambitious and great, and then I give it up for Lent. So it's just pointless.
That's pretty good.
I don't know why.
What I started doing a few years ago was I started doing the micro resolutions. Have you heard of that?
No. What is that?
So you put 12 things you want to accomplish in the year in like a jar. And you draw one out at the first of each month and you try to accomplish that. Oh. You know, like one, I wanted to read 3 books in 1 month, you know, or whatever it was. Or I wanted to take my wife out to a special dinner. I pulled it out that month, and that's what I did. Yeah, for no reason. Yeah.
Nice. Now, do you find that your wife drops additional things in there for you?
I keep it from her.
Mine was not fantastic, but I have been diligent. I made a resolution about 5 years ago to stop making resolutions, and I've kept it.
Well, that's good. I mean, you're working.
Yeah.
So there you go. The life pro tip's always in the comments, isn't it?
It sure is.
You are listening to The Soapbox. I'm Paul.
And I'm Eric.
This all started out with a list. What's that all about?
So I've compiled a list over the years of things that just bother me, things that grind my gears. And I shared that list with you.
And I thought, you know what? That would make interesting conversation. Sometimes I'm going to want to agree with you, and it's just going to be something we talk about. Other times, though, I'm going to want to steel man the opposite position because I think that's just interesting conversation.
Yeah, and keep in mind, I'm always right, but Paul's just a really good debater.
Hey. All right, so new year, new format. You're actually going to be launching season 3 here. So we're very excited to have you on the podcast. For those who don't know, and I don't know how people can't recognize America's favorite weatherman.
I'm not Al Roker. Come on now.
Can we hype it up anymore? Jim Caldwell, thank you so much for joining us today, Jim.
Thank you. I appreciate it. You know, this has been what a couple of years in the making, or something like that.
Not that long. Probably about 9 months in the making.
It just feels like a long time.
Yeah, we talked about this a little bit on Facebook, and I might give a little bit of backstory here. You probably don't remember our initial interaction, but you had done a Facebook post where you were showing something on a map, and you had some sort of tool where you were using your own head as an arrow to point to things.
Oh, yes, I do remember that.
And I made some joke about that, and in the back of my head, it was just, I'm just talking at the internet. People don't read this. And you responded, and I was like, whoa, this guy's actually managing his own account. He's a real guy. So after that, I was like, okay, from here on out, I'm going to bat for Jim in the comments. Anytime somebody is rude to this man, he's got a persona he's got to protect. He's got his professional affiliations. I'm going to tell them, you're dumb. Quit making fun of Jim. And so I started following you. And I loved your sense of humor. I loved the fact that everything seemed so like relatable. One weather guy would say, it's going to be this. And you'd say, look, it's too early. Here are the conditions. Yeah. You know, these are the ingredients. I'm not going to make a call yet. And I'm not going to do that because we don't have all the pieces. And I'm like, this guy's following evidence. This is really good.
One of the big problems that we have in that industry and just in social media, period, is a lot of misinformation. Okay. I mean, we've all heard the now popular term fake news. Well, there's fake weather. There really is fake weather out there because what's happened is there's such a big economic driver with monetization on YouTube and monetization on Facebook and monetization on TikTok. And, you know, people are making really good money over there, but the bigger, the better. That's what sells, and that's what gets people to click or to watch. So they can make more money like that.
And there's no accountability for if the people are wrong, right? Because, one cold morning, I looked at the Amazon Alexa. Apologies if I just turned on someone's device. But it said 35 degrees. I get in the car, because it's been in the garage for all night. It says 50 degrees. And then we, get to where we're going, and I get out of the car, and it's 40. And I'm like, just tell me how cold it's going to be.
Yeah. Somebody shoot me straight. Yes.
Well, I'm sure you guys had the same pressure as other folks in the media, which is you want to be the first to report on something so that you become the authoritative source. But that's just not how things work.
It's not. As a matter of fact, the day we were recording this podcast, I just watched a special last night that aired on Fox Weather. And it had 4 of the biggest weather streamers in the country. You've heard of Ryan Hall, y'all, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah.
James Spann, who's been an icon in Alabama weather, Birmingham, but all across weather. He started his own with partners, but he started his own network called the Alabama Weather Network. And then there are a couple of others. There's a guy out of Tennessee, and there's another guy out of, I think, Indiana. And they dedicated a whole show to these guys because what these guys say matter, and people pay attention.
Yeah, I am subscribed to the Ryan Hall y'all.
Right.
And I like it. If we could get Ryan Hall on at some point, since he's a Kentucky boy, that would be cool. But I do, with him in particular, I think there's a over fixation on like the tornadoes and the severe weather stuff because it sells. You know, he's got the YOLO meter for the snow count, and so he's always cheering for that thing that I'm rooting against.
Yeah.
And I don't know, there's a weird sort of dynamic there where on the one hand he wants the event so that he can have something to talk about, but on the other hand that event's going to cause suffering, and so you don't want him to be right. You want it to be as calm and uneventful as possible.
You do, but again, that's in that business. You know, the difference between that business and TV. Okay, because everybody will say, "Well, you all sell ads." We do sell ads. We did, because I no longer do it on television. But you don't get money for every viewer at that moment like you do on the TikTok or on Facebook or on YouTube or whatever. You don't get the money instantly like that. What you do is you build a big number and then they sell it later. So it's not an instant thing. That's what people don't understand in the world of TV advertising.
Yeah. And I think that creates a different incentive structure, doesn't it? Because for the TV world, I think you have a better chance of giving a more even approach. You can there's room for mediocre. There's room for nuance and a little bit of air, because it's not clips, it's not clicks, it's not attention, it's not reels, it's not retention, all of the metrics that you pay attention to on the internet. But that tends to look a lot more like reality.
Oh, at 1,000%, because you're getting it in real time. You know what I mean? And there's nothing better than real time. And I'll say this too about TV ratings. They've come a long way. We can get ratings the same day now. Are they perfect? No. They wait a couple of days and let some of the algorithms take place, and now they've got AI that kind of handles it. Were they really listening? Were they really watching? Whatever the case may be. But you do have a little more leeway in television. But when you're streaming live and you're trying to get those viewers live, and people like Ryan and James Spann, they get tons. I watched one. I don't watch a lot because I'm jealous of him. That's fair. But I watched Ryan's stuff, and he had like live viewers, almost 1 million viewers, and I'm thinking that's right up there with that actually beats some of CNN's programming. Okay, wow. It's getting real close to network news, because network news has dropped significantly. So those are big time numbers.
Yeah,
but this is a different kind of viewership than, let's say, like where I'll make reels for my band. People can go back and listen to them. For weather, you're not going back and listening to yesterday's weather, right?
That's right.
So everything's happening now. So it's more live than it has to be so much more immediate, which is different. And I wonder if he's found the way to funnel everyone to that now.
And he has. Listen. This guy's got he's not just a YouTuber sitting there in his house now. He's got a team. He's got a team. He's got storm chasers. He's got a graphics person. He's got a video editor. He has a PR person, that handles, whatever he's doing for the day,
But we've got Paul.
Well, Paul did a great job of PR.
Paul Ross, PR. It's
That's pretty good.
So let's pivot for just a moment here, because while I still follow you as meteorologist Jim Caldwell on Facebook, and I'm going to ask about that here in a second, but you have a new role. You're with KEDC. What does that stand for, and what are you doing?
It is the Kentucky Educational Development Corporation. Do you see why we say KEDC?
Yeah, absolutely. That's a mouthful.
It's a mouthful. But my role there is to market and put on display the options that we have. And what options do we have? We've got a ton. Right now, one of our hottest items is we've got a big bus we spent about $500,000 on or more that is AI-centered. It's got a flight simulator on it. It's got a driving simulator on it. It's got a huge sphere, okay? Now, think about the sphere in Las Vegas and then shrink it. And shrink it enough to fit, in this room quite comfortably. But on that sphere, we display, and this is where I come into play a little bit, we display live weather around the world. shows you whatever we have access to around the world at any particular moment. And it's incredible to see it on a globe right in front of you. That's just one thing. We can put anything on it because it's a bunch of video panels. So we can use it for very intense 3D displays or whatever the case may be. We've also got a little dome feature that we take around. And this dome, it takes about a day to set up. I haven't had to set it up yet. But it's a little dome almost like a giant igloo. And all it is, video everywhere. It's immersive learning. And this is real popular for the schools. Our member schools, we've got 81 districts. There are 170 districts across Kentucky when you include all the independent and all that. And then we've got 81 of them that we service. We also help with some of the educators getting their rank, going up to rank 1 or whatever it is. It's a more cost-efficient way to do it. But the biggest part for me is to now promote what Kentucky students are doing and what they're doing within our districts with our technology. And then, trying to make sure that all these people out there know that we have all these grants that are available.
That's a big one, right?
That's huge.
If you don't know what's available to you, you're missing out on opportunity.
You're missing out on a ton. Since I've been there, and I've only been there about a month and a half, we have received around $18 million in grants. And right before I got there, they had a $22 million grant come in.
Wow.
And they're for different things. One of them is for school counselors, and so they can get re-educated. So they can, not re-educated, that's not the word, but so they can get caught up. It's just continuing education. That stuff like that. And this is all there, and it's available, and a lot of it's free. You just got to sign up for our meetings, come in person, whatever. And we've got one with Apple. We've got a big rep from Apple that's going to come in and go through a deep experience with what you can really do with your iPad, what you can really do with your iMac, what you can do with your MacBook, things that people, educators, average people don't realize. And it's all free, and then they can walk away. Of course, there's already an education, discount, for Apple products. And then, people can walk away with a better product for much cheaper. So I sound like I'm pitching for Apple, but I really like Apple, but
all right,
but it's a free event, for these educators.
Absolutely.
UK did something similar. I don't know, maybe that was 10 years ago, where they gave every student an iPad, and then they had grants for professors to bring the iPad into class and integrate it. And I was teaching a GIS class, so I got iPads for all the students, and I got one. My TA got one, and we got to use it to put maps on our Apple iPads. It was really cool.
That is really cool.
Yeah, the pencil too. Which is such a
well. This is my new work one. That's why it's got the keyboard and all that. I wouldn't have bought that.
So sponsored by Apple, and
we can get an Apple sponsorship. That would be great.
Oh yeah.
You wrote something down. I think that's highly relevant.
Yeah. Here. Okay. You did cheating on my notes. I like that.
A little bit. Yeah.
Have you heard of the Hill, the new facility where Harold Leader used to be?
The technology center for Fayette County Public Schools?
Yeah.
I've heard about it. I don't know what goes on in there.
No integration with you guys? It seems like you guys are doing similar things.
Well, we probably are, but I haven't gotten to it yet.
Oh, okay.
Again, I'm still early on. I haven't even gotten to visit any schools yet. And that's part of the whole deal is I've got to get out there. But I'm sure it's on my list once we get rolling.
We actually had one of the guys, Kevin Schettinger, has been on the podcast twice talking about the Hill, and my daughter's gone. My son is going now, and it's a really, really cool, fascinating building, by the way. The building's fantastic, but it seems like there's
a lot of overlap when it comes to just Kentucky students engaging with technology and using that technology to encourage them down those STEM pathways. I think that's a huge one. So
we just wrapped up a boot camp. There's an AI presidential challenge right now for students, from senior year back into maybe it's like 8th grade or something. No, I'm lying to you, at least 4th grade. You've got that kind of anyway. So they're set up with this program, and they come up with an app. And the whole question is, what is a problem that you face daily? I don't know. I've got a 13-year-old son. I don't know what his daily things are. I know what they were when I was a kid, and his are very different than mine, and sometimes as adults we can't relate. We really can't. But these kids, they were coming up with ideas. They were like, one of them in particular that I was really impressed with our boot camp was this was an opportunity for them to talk to AI and ask it general health questions about themselves as they're going through those changes. Now, they say, okay, that could be risky, but it was the way they were going to try to do it is it was, all within reason, all within the law, whatever you want to call it. And it was going to, I'm growing hair in my armpit, or whatever it is, because that's a weird time,
Sure.
Yeah.
So,
and these kids were coming up with that. It wasn't the adult; it was
that is
these
a
kids.
fascinating use of the technology. I consider just how self-conscious I was at 13, 14, 15 years old. Stuff that I could have asked my parents, but I didn't want to. I was embarrassed, and to be able to know that I've got a health resource or something like that I can just say, hey, is this normal? Like, this thing is happening and I don't get it.
Right. And it would be right there on your phone, or your your device. And so what could happen is if their app is chosen, they'll go to the next level, like a regional, and then the beyond. If they make it and they win, each student on that team, and the students, there's 4 students on each team, they all get $10,000. It's not scholarship money. It's just, here's some money, Wow. Do what you want to, and they
maybe bring it to market and make a little more.
That's right. I mean, that's true. Yeah. And then they get to go to DC and they get that whole experience, which when I was a kid I didn't appreciate, but when I got older I did. That second trip was really fascinating.
We just got back from DC. We go once a year for our annual conference, and sometimes it's snowing, some icing, and
it was good this week. We flew back on Wednesday and walked enough that every step hurts right now for me. So I learned not to wear the dress shoes and do the walking tours.
But they're everywhere, I mean that's all they do. They walk, and then they're on the train. What do they call it? The metro. They're on the metro.
But, my daughter's training an AI that she calls Emma, which
it's my daughter's
name. But this is a shout out to K North, a group she's interning with, which Kevin Schedinger is involved in. She's training an app to help elderly detect scams. So this is one of the things we talk about AI before, and it's one of the interesting things about these large language models is having them trained in a certain area can really help them give you more accurate results. Like if you go ask just a brand new ChatGPT some questions, even about the armpit hair and things, you may get some misleading results. You may get some of the hallucinations that likes to do, or misunderstanding terms. But having an AI trained in a certain area, like what Vivian's doing with Emma, I think it's really helpful, especially for scams, right? I mean,
because now it's got domain-specific knowledge.
Yeah, and there may be a scam that's really popular now that wasn't some years ago, and so that's a neat idea. I do caution people using these tools to try to train them and.
Yeah. Right. I mean, I've got ChatGPT. I've got the paid version, and it's almost like we're friends now. I've got another friend that is really into it, and every time he references, he's like, "Well, I was talking to ChatGPT." I'm like, "All right, dude, you need to slow down a little bit. You're going to have to," because I think that's just a little too far. But I use it daily now. I don't go to Google anymore. I just open up my app and I go through it because. It's so personal. It's like, all right, Jim, here's what we got for you, okay?
And it can reference previous interactions, which is also just brilliant.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Like, I'll say, what did I ask you a month ago? And I'm not, no, there's something specific. What did you tell me about this? And it says, well, I told you. And it goes right back to it. It's incredible.
It really is. Now, just on the same topic as technology, but I was peeking through the KEDC website a little bit. And as a marketing person, I'm sure you're going to be roped into this at some point. But you all have a podcast. Have you had a chance to be on the KEDC podcast yet?
Not yet, but I'm going in for a meeting next week for promotion of said podcast. So,
all right. So, guys, we got him before you.
That's right.
I've never, I think this is the first podcast I've done. Well, no. I did some when I was working at KYT, but, out external, this probably is the first one. I've done some radio interviews, stuff awesome. Like that.
Well, hopefully it's a good experience overall. I do wonder, and this was something that just kind of hearkening back to something I'd mentioned earlier. Oh, I hear a siren. That means we have to take a shot.
Yeah. So all of our true listeners know
the at-home
when
listeners.
They hear the siren, they take a shot.
For new listeners, we just have 3 hospitals right next to where we record, and we have to lean into it. So sometimes it's a drinking game. Sometimes it's a practice in alcoholism. So let your mileage vary.
Oh, I can imagine.
Yeah.
I can imagine.
But yeah, being a public personality, you're on the television, you're on the internet, people just sort of assume that, you're maybe not a person. At least that's how they speak to you on the internet. What's one of your bigger pet peeves about being that public personality?
You know, my career takes us back 25 years. Okay, I started when I walked into my first job at WIMT. Well, I worked in radio before that, but when I got to the station, a TV station, I walked in and they didn't assign me a Jim Caldwell at WIMT.com email. It wasn't a thing. They had them, but it was like 2 or 3 months later, like, hey, do you want a work email? I'm like, yeah, that'd be nice. That's how far we've come. You know,
Yes.
That's day one now, or before you even get there, they've got all that set up, and you're ready to go. So that's something to see it change. But so back then, the communication was people would send you letters, somebody would call you, and they would complain, or they would do this or that. Now they can just go to your Facebook page and send you a direct message, or they can, comment, as you have seen many, many times, and they're relentless. And it's like it's like I'm not really a person.
Yeah,
and it is.
And my observation on that was pretty fierce in the comments. But I wonder, like, behind the scenes, has there ever been a weird one, like any kind of threats or anything like that?
Not for me. However, what you get with some of the girls, you get a lot of sexually explicit ones.
Yeah. Oh.
And, they're like, well, they go into great detail. I won't even go into that. And that's the ones we get, and we get them so often. Now, there was some emails we used to get from one particular guy. He would cuss us. I mean, every other word was cussing. I was like, I didn't know you could cuss like that. These sentences we
Trained in the
together.
George Carlin way of cursing.
Yeah, oh, yeah, man. I mean, anyway, but no direct threat toward myself. Now, some of the ladies, the station in general, and that GM email, I'm sure, gets full every day. And that's not just for KYT, it's everybody in town, because, we're so divided in this country for whatever reason it is. And, everybody wants the truth, but the truth, they don't believe is in local news anymore, or in national news anymore. Local news respect and credibility is down to some of its lowest points since I've been working in it. So it's just a scary time. But that's what happens. People will reach out. They'll say that. I mean, we've had to have cops there at the station before for different reasons. One night they had the bomb squad come out because they thought we had a bomb on the property. Mm-hmm. It ended up being a T-shirt in a box. So I wasn't working that night because it was a night thing, and I thought, and LEX comes over and they're doing a story on it, and 36 it was just right beside KYT. Basically, they came over, and it was a shirt in a box, but there was it had some kind of note on it, and I can't remember. It seemed very threatening, and that's what was scary. So. It's out there. We've had people come spray painted the front of the building, filthy pigs, liberal pigs, fascist, whatever. Yeah. I mean, both sides have been there.
Yeah. You're like, I'm surprised you could spell fascist.
Right. Well, they didn't, and we just put it together like, oh, they're trying to say fascist.
Is it FASS?
When you're fixing a typo with spray paint on your own wall, that's when they're really...
Yeah.
The Bob and Doug McKenzie approach. Hey, you got to do it in French and English, eh?
I have seen like a video clip of some poor news reporter, female, trying to do a bit, and cars driving by, and every other car is hooting and hollering and whistling, and by the end of it, she's just like, I just all right, cut. We can't shoot.
This
here.
This is why Jim doesn't shoot on location, because the cat calls.
The cat. Oh yeah. Oh, it's nonstop. Oh, yeah. Hey, stud. There we go.
So I have a random weird question for you. I used to work for AT&T, and I was just a very low level, like Dwight Schrute type mid manager. I was a data manager for assistant to the manager.
Yeah, there we go.
And not that important in my organization. However, my name, Paul Ross, on the phone sounds strikingly like the company vice president, Paul Roth. And so if I called and I said, this is Paul Ross, and they misheard me, a lot of work got done that wouldn't have gotten done had they known how unimportant I actually was.
Really?
So in that case of mistaken identity, I feel like that actually ended up sort of making progress, and it was not a bad thing at all. But I wonder, for you share a namesake with another weather personality, and it's not too similar, but it might be similar enough for somebody that doesn't know you well. Have you been In conversation, ever confused with Jim Cantrell?
I've been called Jim Cantori.
Cantori. Thank you.
Jim Cantori. I've been called Jim. Oh, look, there's Jim Cantori. I love watching you in the evenings. First of all, I've been on the evenings in a long, long time.
Yep.
Second of all, no. But Cantori's a bald guy too, just like me. But that's what it is. I do get that. And the other funny one is when they cross names. Like, I worked with Chris Bailey for years, and I would get called, "Hey, Jim Bailey, how are you?" And I'll be like, "Doing just fine." But the thing is, they knew who I was, and that's important. You got to be in this business. You have to be memorable, or you're just going to get washed up. So if somebody doesn't stand out, they're not going to go very far. And it's not that Lexington was all I ever wanted to do. I'm from Eastern Kentucky. I never wanted to go anywhere else. Never really sought it, TV-wise, because I didn't want to go to New York City unless I was going to, network. I don't want to be there.
Yeah.
It costs a fortune just to live.
Yeah.
If both of you and your spouse aren't making, mid six figures, you live pretty
It is a hard market. I used to, I still live in the same house, but Garrett Weimer used to live across the street and a couple houses down, and he and Amy were good friends. And unfortunately for him to be able to move up, he had to move out. So he's down in Florida now. And so I can imagine you have just a few trajectories where you can either lock in and be the local guy, move up through different industry, or move out.
And that's what happens. That's what happens a lot. When you the way it used to be at one time was everybody would go to a hazard, or they would go to Piedmont, North Dakota, or whatever. Okay, they would go and they would get their first job, small market. And then they would go to their second job, and that might put them into a Lexington range or a Huntington, West Virginia, or a Knoxville. And then if you wanted to keep going, then you try to get into that top 25 market. And that's what I'm talking about, population-wise. Now what we are finding is we don't have to wait anymore. So we're so in need of work and workers that we have several that this is their first job in television at KYT, not only KYT, every station in town, right out of college. And that was not always the case. Yeah. It is now.
So your industry seems to be like a lot where there's a knowledge and skills gap because folks just don't want to do it anymore? Maybe is it a lack of dollars, or is it that there's so many incentives against staying in it?
I can never say that I was ever paid poorly, because whatever position I was in, I thought I was paid fairly. So I'll never say that, but other positions are not. When you've got that central unit, when you're talking about local news, you've got those anchors, and you've got that weather person and sports person. That's the traditional way. Some places are going away from doing wall-to-wall sports. Some places don't have one sports person now. I mean, we're such a big town with UK that it's hard to get rid of that. But you've got to find those people, and you invest in them. And that's what they've done, with people like Bill Bryant and Amber and Chris, and then you go over, with Nancy Cox over at 18 for all those years. They become a part of people's family, and when they're relatable and they test high, and what I mean by test high is every single person is researched. And they say, "Do you like this guy?" But it's more advanced than that. I mean, because they've got this damn sliding scale. Do you like them a little bit? Do you like? It's really, but
it's like being graded in retail, willingness to recommend, right?
See, something like that, right? Yeah. Right. So that's how we determine who's the best, and if you're relatable and. Me being from here and having a little bit of the accent, my wife says that I don't have it as much, but you all probably hear it, don't you? I still sound like I'm from the East.
A little bit. Yeah. I mean, it's
me.
It is, yeah.
It's me.
You don't want to put it on.
Yeah. So you
listen to Paul say about, and he'll tell you where he's from.
See, now it's going to be contrived because I'm thinking about it.
Y'all thinking about it. A little Canadian.
Out, yeah. Are you? From Calgary originally.
Are you really?
I am, yes. So I didn't pick up too much of the Kentucky accent, although my mom is from Western Kentucky, so there's a little redneck in there, a little bit of Canuck in there. It's all kind of shaken, stirred.
Well, I couldn't figure yours out, so that's good.
in Canada, when I'm with Canadian family, I have been accused of sounding like a redneck, and then here I apparently sound like a hoser. So there may be somewhere like in the Ohio Valley region that people talk like me if you average the two.
So something like that. Put it all together. I've been to Calgary twice. Nice city.
Yeah, probably Banff then.
I've been to Banff. Yes, been to Banff twice. Oh yeah, beautiful. Oh gosh, it's so pretty up there.
Summertime, I think it's great. Wintertime, I think I would probably rather die. It is so cold.
Oh yeah.
I'm not a cold weather guy. Did not get that Canadian gene or whatever the immunity is supposed to be.
It's impressive for sure.
So I've at least a dozen times on your Facebook wall posted the Michael Scott
when you say it's getting ready to get
gif
cold,
as soon as you say it's getting cold again. I don't blame you, and I won't shoot the messenger, but also that's not welcome news.
I get that.
So since you name dropped a few folks here, I had a silly question. I'll go ahead and ask it so I don't forget. T.G. Shuck, Chris Bailey, Bill Mack, who would win in a cage fight?
All right. Well, now TG is known for his extensive workout. Okay, he's hardcore into working out. Bill Mack, a little heavier set, might be harder to move around. Chris Bailey is like a stick now, but Chris has got that Eastern Kentucky in him. I'm gonna give it to TG.
TG?
I'm going to give it to TG.
All right. My prediction was that you were going with the home team, Chris Bailey.
Well, you know what? I tried to be accuracy headquarters.
Yeah.
I said that the other day. I want to be accuracy headquarters, and accuracy is, I think TG whipped their butts.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Well, now we'll get AI to recreate it for us.
Oh, yes.
I mean, if nobody else watches that, I would enjoy that tremendously. So you originally didn't want to get into weather. You were going to be a psychologist at one point.
When I was, when I was in high school, I was leaning more toward that. I just wanted to. There's this infamous line in a yearbook where I said, "I just want to see what makes people tick," and I get to in a different way now.
I was going to ask, with all of the interactions that you get, do you feel like you got enough of a taste of that? Maybe you don't want it anymore.
I do not want it anymore. You are absolutely right, because I've seen it all. All across. I've seen the really good, the really bad, the really, really odd. And the scary. I was in a news car once, and I bounce around with subjects. I'm so bad when I start talking. A reporter and I, we were driving through a neighborhood in Hazard when I was there, and we stopped. We were looking for local reaction. That's what you do. We call it man on the street, MOS, and we were looking for man on the street sound from somebody that. I don't even remember what we were talking about at the time because it got so weird. So we stopped. We see this family sitting on her porch. And she rolls the window down. She's like, hey guys, would you like to talk to us about blah, blah, blah? Oh, you're that pretty little girl from the news. So here they come. They ran down to the car. They basically reach into the car on both sides. And I'm I'm in the driver's seat. And I'm like, oh my gosh, what's going to happen? She literally jumps to the back, locks that door. Because we were riding one of those old Jeep Cherokees that you had to push. They didn't get us top notch. I mean, when I did this, when cranking, we had to crank those windows down, She got back there and locked the door. And then I reached across and locked the door. And mine was already locked for whatever reason. But you get those kinds. You get all kinds of people.
They were just trying to touch.
They're trying to touch her. They wanted to touch her. They weren't really after me. They were like, "Oh, you're that pretty girl from the news. Oh, honey, come here. I just want to touch your hair." I remember that specifically. I want to touch your hair. And that's what they said.
So you got disqualified because we all have the same haircut.
I had a little bit thin. I was real thin, but close. But I mean, those are the interactions you get. So I'm very pleased that maybe I didn't go that route. Hey, when I got into high school, I realized that, I can talk to people. I can do this. I even thought about, at that point, maybe I'll be a reporter. Huh. I'm glad that didn't happen.
Right.
I'm glad weather came along. Yeah.
So one note I saw, your bio is still up.
Is it really?
And that was good for scraping some information. You used to be a gamer.
I did.
Xbox, Call of Duty, Halo, but now... But kind of pass the torch.
My kid is obsessed.
And you mentioned Storm's 13 now?
13, yeah.
So he's in the prime of his gaming days.
Oh, yeah.
Playing the classic, if you were to dust one off, and I do this with my kids. I got a son that's 5, a son that's 8, and my daughter's 11. The boys love Smash Brothers on Nintendo Switch.
Oh, it's so much fun.
And occasionally I'll have to get down and school them to let them know Dad still got it. Have you ever done that with Call of Duty?
Well, for years I did. For years. And then when I got out of playing, because I didn't, I just, the schedule, because I used to play all night. I would, I'd go home, play Call of Duty or Halo, whichever version of that was hot at the time. And I played all night till the sun came up. I was in my 20s. And that was my life. But as I got out of the routine, I'd play him, I'd play him, I'd play him. I'd still beat him. And then not so long ago, he's like, Dad, why don't you come in here and play with me? Play this Mortal Kombat. It's one of the newer Mortal Kombats. And I'm like, okay, sure. I said, let me look at the moves so I can, at least have a chance.
Yeah.
So, it's got a little chart, shows you all the special moves. And I'm doing some of the special moves, and he beats the crap out of me. And it's relentless.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you just got lucky that first round. I was testing my moves. He's like, okay. So then I step up again, second round. He destroys me again. And it took me, I'm not kidding, it's a 2-round game, unless each one wins. It took me maybe 30 rounds before I ever won a round.
Wow.
And I think he felt sorry for me.
So he let you have it.
Oh, yeah.
And he was doing for you what you did for him at 10.
Yes. And I'm going to tell you the truth. I told my wife that years ago. I'm like, I want him to understand what it's like to lose.
Yeah.
I want him to know.
Yes.
I said, my brother, my dad, he would, he'd give in a little bit. My brother, I've got an older brother. He's about 15 years older than me. He always gave me the business, and he always made sure that if he could beat me, he'd beat me. You know, and if I won, it was because I deserved it. Yeah. And that has made me seriously. When I think back, I'm like, you know what? I told him that at Thanksgiving. I'm like, I think because of you, I handle loss a little bit better.
Yeah.
And I really mean that. And that's what I was just trying to instill in him is you're not always going to win.
Yeah.
I
think that's such good parenting. One of the things I told my kids early on is that I'm not going to let you win so that when you do win, that sense of accomplishment will be real.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. And I'll school them. And it seems cruel maybe a little bit, but as they're getting better and better, the first time my son pulled out a victory on me, he dropped the controller. He jumped on the couch even though he's not supposed to. And it was just like, yeah, I beat you, Dad. I was like, 1 round, let's go get it.
All of a sudden, you're ready. You're like,
yeah,
wait a minute.
I was giving it too easy. It's the arthritis in the thumbs. Let me just pop some knuckles here. Come on.
I remember training my kids for running to get them ready for tryouts, soccer tryouts and different things. And I would race with them, and I'd do the same thing. I wouldn't let them win.
No.
They need to see, they have to give it their all to get there. But my son Vinny is 14, and he's a gamer. He plays PC games. He plays the Xbox. And we were kind of new to the Xbox, new to me during COVID. We got an Xbox, and I'm looking at this thing. I was a PC gamer for years. We talked about that. Got this controller. I was like, I could try to figure it out. And I played some games, had some fun. Vinny was pretty young. I guess he was 10. And over time, I started watching, and I was like, wow, he's getting really good at that Xbox, the controller and his things. And it got to the point where I'd be playing a game. I'd get to a boss. This is worse than what you were describing, I think.
Uh-oh.
Not him beating me. Playing a game, I get to a boss, lose. Vincent, can you come here for a second?
Oh, that's tough.
Hand the controller over. He's like, okay, what are the moves? And I mean, I gave him like the top level, like this attack, strong attack, this, quick, then. He goes, okay. Second try, he kills me.
Wow.
Oh, my God. So, speaking about games, you just triggered a memory for me. So, we had, for a while, I still do, but we had the Wii, and we had the Wii modified, okay? It's probably illegal, I don't know. I'm going to cut that out if it is.
Statute of limitations.
There you go. But we had emulators on there, so we could play old Super Nintendo games. But this is before all of the mini consoles and stuff came out, and now you can do it on the Switch. And he loved playing Mike Tyson's Punch-Out, and he loved playing Super Punch-Out. Yes. So good that once we got the Switch and they dropped them on there, because you can go to that virtual console on the Switch, he started playing it all the time, and then he started watching these videos online. And there are videos on YouTube, guys, that people will blindfold themselves. They'll do it in an auditorium in front of people. It's like these big game cons, and they will play it blindfolded and win.
Because it's a pattern.
It's a pattern and a sound that, yes. And so my kid started trying to do that. So he started doing it, and we started on Mike Tyson's Punch-Out. And he's like, I think I can do it, Dad. I think I can do it. I was like, okay, let's see it. So he puts one on, and he Glass Joe, first guy on the game, and he beats him. Blindfold. Now it was a little rough, but even in that, even those really good guys on those YouTube videos, sometimes they'll miss a punch or whatever. But he beat him. I'm like, that's impressive. So I hate to say he likes some of those older games, loves them. One of his Christmas presents this year was I got him a shirt, and it had Mike Tyson, the digital version, right off the cover of the game.
That's awesome.
That's what he's got.
Have you seen Bit Brigade, the band?
No.
You know what I'm talking about?
Is this the band that plays while somebody's playing an active playthrough of one of the games?
So someone will sit there with a huge projector, play
Mega Man or
Zelda,
Contra.
What's my Castlevania, and the band will play the theme music. They'll play the game music.
But their whole set is starting the game to beating the game,
Yeah.
which it turns out for a lot of those classic games you can knock out in like 2 hours.
Yeah.
What seemed like a lot longer back then, didn't it?
It took me more than 2 hours.
know it
Yeah,
did,
especially
me too.
Contra. I had to cheat. Put the Konami code in.
Once you got that code, you were good.
Even then, it wasn't a walk in the park.
No, it was really a challenging game.
Yeah.
It was hard to stay alive. I don't know how other people could do it without having that code.
I think it was just meticulous, like not going to bed, not studying. You devote your life to that, you can probably get pretty good at it. But most of us, we had other responsibilities.
We did. Here's the thing now. People can put that on YouTube and they make a fortune off of it. People watching it.
Yes.
Absolutely.
So you can make money.
Well, you're not going to make money being a gamer, son. Actually, Mom. Actually.
Well, some of these universities, I don't know if UK has done it. I think EKU maybe, and I know University of Pikeville out in Eastern Kentucky, they've got a gaming team, at least at Pikeville. I don't know about EKU for sure, but even some of them have got the major, to go into, coding and programming video games.
Actually, I'm friends with one of the guys that was a professor who started teaching the gaming class here. He's moved on, but Nathan Stevens, he started out working in the College of Journalism. He taught adjunct. He was a video editor. He was a technology person over there. And his passion for games led him to teaching history of gaming here at UK. So
that became a real thing.
That became a real thing because it was such an important part of culture that it was seen as like a optional humanities like inclusion.
I think that's a great idea because it is part of life. I mean, it is whether you like it or not.
And I think to your earlier point, there's virtue in the resilience and the problem solving and a lot that goes into that. And this kind of touches on another question that I had, and that is that you have had a career that has spanned interesting, both sometimes polarizing topics of science and media. Now you're pivoting, but I think there's still a pretty big emphasis on STEM and education. What message would you want to give to younger folks based upon your experience in those domains?
Don't be afraid of technology. When we were, I'm just assuming we're all close in age. I may be overstepping because I may be 20 years older than you all. But don't be afraid of it. When I was younger, when we would go to computer class, and again, I go back to memories. There was one kid that wasn't allowed to work on the computers because the family wouldn't allow it. They made rules because they said, that's of the devil or whatever it is, whatever it may
Bobby
be.
Boucher, that fool's belongs to the devil.
That's exactly right. That's right. I knew people like that. Well, I knew one person like that. And don't be afraid of it. Embrace it early. That's why I keep telling them, Storm. I'm like, Storm, learn this stuff, and you won't have to spend, 25 years in, paying off a student loan. You can get a lot of stuff paid for. You can get some scholarships, you can get some grants, you can get all that, and you won't have to be paying forever on student loans and things. So that's my biggest piece of advice. Do not be afraid and try it, because that hands-on stuff, I learned more, and once I finally realized that I needed to learn, because the only thing I wanted to learn in high school was girls, and I wanted to do. I was doing radio, I was doing high school basketball, and play-by. No, I was doing play-by-play. I was doing color. I just wanted to do that. Those were my main things. Class was in the way.
Yeah.
So, but when I got to college, I was like, oh, I need to learn, and I learned so much more in college than I ever learned before that, because Mom was like, well, this is your only shot. I'm like, oh, I guess you're right. So, and I started at a community college and went on, and here we are, today. But that's the way that goes.
Paul and I were talking earlier yesterday or day before about when to give phones to your children. a mobile device. We call it data, I think was the way the kids referred to it. There'd be the iPad kids that had an iPad, but it didn't
Wi-Fi only.
It was Wi-Fi only. But the kids that had data, they could get to the internet outside the house. And having that technology and getting used to it and learning it, there's a sweet spot of letting your kids have early access.
Like many things in life, I believe there's a spectrum. On the one hand, I want to protect my kids. I don't want them to have unfettered access. I want to make sure that there's strong parental controls and supervision, but I don't want to put them behind in that world where that's going to be one of the most marketable skills is being able to engage with the technology.
100%. If I can tell you right now, if I wasn't so deep involved with some of the social media stuff, I wouldn't have the job I have today. Yeah. But they saw that, I had the reach that I got and the reactions I got, and she was like, you know what, I think that's what we need. Because I don't know what you two do, but around 70% of the people in the United States, when they get up, they look at their phone. Yeah. And they might go to Facebook. They might go to TikTok. TikTok's really big, of course. That's the first thing they do. When they get up, that's where they're getting their information immediately. So it's important. It's because it's a part of your life now. So you're right. To gauge it and when to do it, I'm not sure. I'm really not sure.
I don't think there's an easy answer.
I think every child's different. You have to sort of feel out their strengths and their weaknesses and be the training wheels for them along the way.
Yeah.
I'm going to pivot to something earlier. You mentioned market testing and appeal and standing out. One thing I've noticed about you over the years is that you have an incredible sense of style. You do, especially on Derby Day. But just have people said this to you before?
Yes.
Okay. I feel like they have, because you do. You have a certain style. Now, is that something innate? Is that Jim's style, or does Terry help you with that?
She's like, don't wear that. That's what she says. She's like, you're really going to wear that? I'm like, yeah, why? So it's a funny story. Just this past week, I went to the first ever, my first ever, not the first ever. I went to the Kentucky Chamber Day dinner down here at Central Bank Center. And you've got all these politicians and you've got all these business folks. You've got this is an elite group of people, and here's this guy. So my CEO, she says, I'd just given a speech that day at the Moorhead-Rowan County Chamber of Commerce. And she says to me, now, Jim, I want you to stand out tonight. I said, what do you mean? She said, I want you to be as flashy as you always are. So I was like, okay. So I went home, threw the pink jacket on, and away we went. And I got comments along the way. I couldn't do that, but I love it on you, or whatever. Yeah. So she's like, now when we go to stuff like this, I want you to always be like that.
Yeah.
That's what. Now she's encouraging, and my administration would, when I was working at KYT on special occasions, but there are times you need to be serious. I couldn't go out there in a pink blazer with severe weather. That just doesn't work, or glitter or whatever.
That could come across as maybe insensitive towards the folks in the path of that storm.
See, that's the problem. But in this job, we're out there just pushing, a good central message, we can. So last week, after that, I went home. I got on the site that I always use. I won't tell you which one it is. Because it may be in China. But I ordered like 5 or 6 more jackets, some sparkly shirts. She said, that's what I want. She said, because you'll stand out in the room, and you will. Now, is that bad or good? Because some people say, oh, what's wrong with that guy? But you know what? You said
know who you are.
Yeah,
yes.
That's right. Yeah. That's right. Here's another story, and then I'll quit talking about it. I told this story the other day. I was walking down. Was I in Winchester? I was in Winchester. I was going down the street because that's where I live, is Winchester. And I was walking down the street, and I was in town, and this guy walks by. It's like, hey, are you Jim? I said, yeah. And he said, why did you wear that pink blazer when you was out there at the horse race? And I said, well, because that's the color of the day, because it's Oaks Day. I said, no, pink is the color. Well, I'll tell you what, that just did not suit you. I said, but you remembered it, didn't you? He said, got real quiet for a second. He said, well, yeah. I was like, you remembered my name, didn't you? Yeah. Like, well, it worked, didn't it?
Yeah.
And
so you are Jack Sparrow. You're the worst pirate I've ever heard of, but you have heard of me.
But you have heard of me. And when I said that to him, he kind of just smiled. He's like, I guess so. I was like, yeah. I said, that's what this is about. Be memorable. Not be memorable in a bad way. Just stand out from the crowd.
Yeah.
You know,
And I feel like, and this was a question I had written down for earlier, but we glazed past it. Is part of the reason you're maintaining meteorologists? Obviously, you've got some meteorology stuff that you're going to be bringing to KEDC, but is part of maintaining the moniker online, carrying the brand recognition with you so that you can use the platform?
It is. It is because there's still a want to do it. There's still a need for me personally to do it. It's just like yesterday, I answered a comment. Somebody said, I thought you weren't a meteorologist anymore. Now, honey, I went to school a long time for this, you know. And when I say a long time, I didn't get a master's degree or anything like that. But the way my program was broken down, it took me a lot longer. You know, it took me 7 years to get a bachelor's degree because of the way I did it. But I'm like, no, I'm a meteorologist for life. That's literally what I told her in the comments. No, I'm a meteorologist for life.
Yeah.
And I'm going to continue to post. I'm going to continue to do whatever. And maybe something even bigger, you know, when non-compete is up. Yeah. So there's all that.
Are you going to continue to learn? Do you have an avenue to learn new stuff?
Learn every day, because there's always something new. When I see that there's a workshop, or I see that they've released a new video, because there's all these new. We go back to AI again. There are all these AI models that are out there that are self-learning. You know, unlike your traditional deterministic model. So. Are they any better? Not really. Are they okay? They're good for as short amount of time as they've been out. Yeah. But then you got to dig in. You got to learn about them. You got to read about them. You got to find out more. You know, back in the 2005 to 2015 range, somewhere through there, we went through a new revolutionary upgrading Doppler radar across the country, all owned by the federal government. Those we went from what was called the WSR 88D, to what we call dual pole, which is just getting you a better analysis of the atmosphere. This now, the way that radar picks up, and you probably know this because you're both smart cats, but we can determine if it's snow. We can determine if it's rain. We've had that before, but it can really tell you. It can almost tell you the size of an individual flake, almost. And it can find debris. It will be able to, like in a severe weather situation, a tornado, we watch that correlation coefficient, what it's called, and you can see a little ball that'll show up on the radar, and that's usually debris because it's picking up on something that's not supposed to be there, technically. So whether that be dust or whatever.
Or a cow.
Or a cow, or a whole bunch of them. So
Dorothy and the Tin Man.
Twisters, I enjoyed, by the way. I enjoyed it. Did y'all see it?
I did. I loved it.
I enjoyed it. I didn't know that they had a version that you could go and get sprayed water and fans would kick on. There was a version of that, and they call it 4D or something crazy like that.
Yeah, I heard that.
It's like it was down in Nashville. A buddy of mine went, and he drove from Jonesboro, Arkansas, to Nashville to go watch it.
That's wild. It's like seeing Gallagher smash a watermelon on the front row.
That's so good. That's so good, but that's it.
Well, I only have one final question, and I don't know if you've got anything to close this up here. A big overlap of what you do and what we do has always centered around public safety. So we work in traffic and safety. Our big messaging centers around operating vehicles safely and safe behaviors. Yours is about being prepared and weather aware. Do you have any PSA that you just wish people would listen to? Anything that over the years the drum that you continually beat that you'd love to just repeat one more time?
Just because we're in Kentucky, and we've learned this more and more, just because we're in Kentucky doesn't mean tornadoes don't happen here. For a long time, people didn't think they did, and they really didn't think they did in the mountains. One of the common myths anywhere that is mountainous is that, tornado won't come here, can't climb a mountain. Well, yes, it can. There are reports of them going up 10, 15,000 foot mountains along the Rockies. So it can happen. So it can happen here. They will be here. We had the awful one back in May in London and in Somerset, which was, I went down 2 or 3 days after, and I couldn't believe it. It's the first time, and I've seen plenty of tornado damage. We had a March 2nd event, 2012, that was just awful in Morgan County and McGoffin County and Johnson County. But I knew those places. It hit a little different because I knew those places. But this was the first time I've ever been to one where I actually saw a carved out path of a tornado. So I'm going down 75. You got all these police lights still there because it was just a couple days later. And then I kind of slowed down because you have to. And then you look over, and there's this big hole in the neighborhood. So it was literally like what you hear in the movie. It was like, this house was gone, but this house was still there right beside it. That's what it was like. There was a path carved out. Now, all of them faced a little damage, but some were leveled, some weren't. And you saw that perfect path over the interstate, and then it went over to the airport on that side of I-75 there in Laurel County. So they can happen. When you hear that it's a tornado warning, be prepared. And the other big issue to be prepared is know where you're going to go if it's a tornado. We beat the drum, as you said, when we're on TV. Basement, basement, basement. Don't have a basement? Right. We'll get in the center of your house. Go to maybe a bathroom. A lot of bathrooms are external. They're maybe not on the inside. Well, for some reason, and I don't know the reason, and maybe it's because of all the plumbing and everything else, for some reason those rooms seem to be a little stronger. I don't know the engineering behind that. But it is proven time and time again the bathroom is one of the better rooms in the house to be in, even if it is on the exterior wall. As a matter of fact, I had a friend, about 8 of them, in the McGoffin County tornado that lived because they were in the bathroom.
Oh, wow.
The rest of the house completely gone. The roof was completely gone everywhere else. But that one little room, that bathroom, that's it. It's crazy. But anyway, take warnings for real and serious.
Absolutely.
That's a nice touch.
Closing thoughts? Or
do we want to end with just maybe make it a kind of a quick bit, but we say, and you kind of touched on it a little bit, but maybe give you a chance to take from anything, either the new gig, the old gig, what really grinds your gears, right?
Yes. What really? We dodged that question this whole time.
Yeah.
I have touched on it a little bit.
Yeah, but
I'm going to hit it.
Yeah.
I'm going to hit it hard now because we didn't really hit it hard. It is the keyboard warriors around the world.
Yeah.
Because, I walk up and down the street, and I've done that for 25 years in this business, and maybe once or twice I've heard somebody say, y'all need to do a better job, but never personally attack me in 25 years, okay? And that's a lot of people. But online, everybody, I'm going to whip your butt. You're the worst guy ever. I swear.
Insults, personal.
Go dig it, yeah. You're always wrong. No, we have a tendency to remember negative more than we do positive. Yeah.
And for the folks in the comment section that want to whip Jim, I'll tell you 2 things. One, standing next to him, he's a lot taller in person than he is on TV. And he can probably whip you, so be warned. But 2, now he's got a coalition of folks in the comments that'll fight alongside him. So, yeah, we got your back, Jim.
Well, I appreciate that. I do have a few that I'll be like, hey, can you go do something about this? Because I don't like to do it myself. I'm like, hey, go comment. I've got these buddies that'll go immediately and they'll say,
well, you're from Hazard originally, is that right?
Originally from Sayersville.
Oh, okay, Sayersville.
And then I worked in Hazard for about 12 years.
So, you know some folks that can get some stuff done if you need to.
Oh, we know some strip jobs. We know where they are. We know. That's all I can say.
Now you got TG in your corner now, too.
That's right, yeah.
He hears this, he's going to be like, all right, I like Caldwell after all.
Well, Jim, thank you so much for being on the podcast. It was truly a pleasure.
Thank you.
It took a little while to get you on here, but it was worth it.
Well, I appreciate it, guys, and good luck. Thank you all.
Yeah, thanks for doing it.
Thanks. We've got a brand new website. What is that site?
That is soapboxlex.com.
So you can check us out on the web. You can also check us out on your favorite streaming platforms, including...
we're on Spotify, we're on Apple, and we're on Amazon. And of course,
if you want to check us out and actually see what you're listening to, we do have video as well on YouTube. And I don't know if you knew this, but Spotify does video too.